Klondike has become an adrenaline pumper once again. I mean, this is as big as it could get. An astonishing piece of news is traveling around the world that says Tony Beets is shut down by mining inspector. What led to this decision? Is this going to be the last season of the show? What will be the aftermath of this alarming situation? Let's find out. As the sun began to fall over the Klondike, tension was noticeable. Despite the hum of ordinary mining activity that filled this vast expanse, hunger could be heard echoing there in one notable absence. Tony Beets' gold never clinked from his hands again. The king of the Klondike was in great danger, almost at risk of losing his crown. I wonder if it was a mistake that put his mission in danger. Tony screamed into the cold Yukon air at the workers, asking them to back the truck up. His urgent words implied a sense of desperation. He was the kind of man who was determined to win back his mill and gold mining kingdom. It was almost 2 months into the season, and every miner in the Klondike had been thrown knee-deep into the hunt for gold. Every miner except Tony Beets. Another moment had elapsed, and not an ounce had appeared in his haul. Tony acknowledged the seriousness of the situation and remarked that it was about time to be more down to earth. The mountain of 6,000 ounces Honeycutt hung over his head, and getting above that number required a big move. I find his steadfastness quite inspiring. 4 weeks ago, he moved his entire operation from Paradise Hill to Indian River. It was a gamble, a bet in the wagering game of gold mining. But as the season wore on, Tony found himself confronted not only by actual mountains to move, but by figurative mountains. Do you think he made a bold move? I'm not so sure about that. From time to time, Tony had to sit there himself to get the trucks out of the way. The anxiety to catch up was visible. It was a case of going fast or not at all, and Tony Beets wasn't the sort to trail behind. Near the center of this turbulent activity lies the necessary preparatory work for sluicing, which is also known as gaining ground. The drainage and stripping of the flooded cut were finished, opening the way for more operations. Tony explained that they were moving the sluice box up there, which was quite an operation now. They would have to put some rocks in the box and make a few bucks by Friday noon to go out water hunting. The plan was formulated and the objective was clear, producing a gold font within the week in that barren cut. The road to success was littered with thorns. A dormant obstacle, Tony's shaker wash plant had been resting for 4 years, but it needed to be renewed, which was a relatively slow process of cautious reconstruction before the most highly valued sluicing could take place. The most critical was the shaker deck, weighing 7 tons, which required extreme care and precision. They had to fix it and get it in place. His well-oiled crew went into action, craning the shaker deck somberly above them and guiding it into place with a delicate poetry of weight and balance. Tony's crew had to crane up the shaker deck and carefully swing it into position atop the wash plant's frame. Its revival wasn't just a matter of engineering, it was also a symbol and a warning. The kind running it would fight back tooth and claw to maintain its throne. With all these obstacles crowding against him, could Tony outrun them, bringing life to his dying wash plant and pulling off his billion-dollar gamble? I think it might be possible because of his undying devotion. Time was running out. The drama was intense, and everyone at the Klondike just sat there on pins and needles waiting for action. This massive piece of equipment, the screen deck, was the first order of business. Its transport and handling required great care. It was a dance of strength and coordination. Tony's sharp commands gave greater weight to safety. The weight of the load hanging in the air was no light matter, and every move we had to make was tough. It was one step at a time toward success. A wave of tension permeated the air. The entire set breathed as one, assisting the crew in conquering their first obstacle. Next came the completion of the spray bar assembly, which required close attention to detail. The situation remained urgent. Every minute would count. I believe this requires a lot of patience. Hats off to Tony's hard work. The passage of time had a beat all in itself. With chains clinking, instructions echoing, and gradually finding their place, the spray bar assembly was settling into its spot. Tony had always been a safety freak in the mining business, and his words reminded everyone of what a dangerous business it was. Tony's reaction to that whole episode was evident. The dangers wrought by heavy machinery were not far from his mind. The mining site was a battlefield, and they wore their safety as armor, protecting them from the unknown. Tony asked Mike to swing the chain his way. He had to free the chain, go around, and connect. Tony's frustration poured forth like a sudden storm. It was an unequivocal notice that complacency had no place in the dogged hunt for gold. Now it was back to business. With the fitment of the spray bar assembly, another essential part of this complex mining jigsaw puzzle had fallen into place. These obstacles were only stumbling blocks, and the straight road to gold lay clear as day before their eyes. They were waiting for a dozer that could get hitched up on the sluice box. The dream of a completely operable wash plant capable of extracting gold from the earth was just around the corner. The mining site, once the battleground of challenges, now buzzed with a new life. Elements were in place, men were ready, and a tempting prize of gold beckoned. The moment was finally here. After an eternity had passed, Tony Beets was now so close to digging up the first gold of the season. The objective was to roll his shaker deck wash plant to the cut and get sluicing. So it seemed quite simple, the last step before the golden payoff. The planet was the final treasury, and Tony wanted to extract his wealth from its bowels. He was using one exaggerated expression after another to express his great eagerness for it all to start happening at last. I think he deserved that enthusiasm, all because of his determination. Hard work does pay off. Everything was ready to go. It was even better now that they had the water license. There was plenty of open ground they could sluice. Tony stepped one step closer to running his first paid dirt of the season with the plant in place. Gold wasn't just a commodity, it was the money with which their dreams could be purchased, the miracle meant for a happier life. There was a certain twist in the story as word got out that some inspectors were on the way. Tony's mood suddenly changed, to his surprise. The unanticipated arrival of mining inspectors added an element of tension to the mood. The Yukon's mining authorities were supposed to ensure that all miners only worked within their licenses. It seemed like an exciting new twist, but instead, it was suddenly like a regulatory braking method in the contest for gold. Since the shock visit by mining inspectors, Tony's effort to extract gold from his Indian River claims has skidded to a full stop. It turns out Tony had left something out in the license. Reality hit home. Tony's ambitious plans were cut short by a critical omission in the license. The definition of Class 3 was rather tight, allowing only a small area to be shaved and sluiced. Tony's words were weightier than a setback. It was an atrocious, terrible mistake. The Indian River claims at Tony Beach were so immediately accessible that the thought of mining gold there slid away like grains of sand through his fingers. The hope of a great harvest was blown away, and the cruel reality even bothered to be there. This magnitude of error casts a pall over the mining division. Now Tony realized with a stab of pain what the oversight meant. His golden aspirations were on hold. Can Tony Beets maneuver this unsuspected obstacle, right this wrong, and save the season that is on a knife edge? Tony found himself facing a correspondingly harsh reality. As a person with a restricted water license, he could only strip and sluice 1 acre of ground. Quite out of proportion to the 15 acres he fantasized about mining. The message was plain. The Indian River, in its present condition, would be unprofitable. The stretch of land that dazzled men with visions of gold suddenly looked so constricted, hemmed in by the width and length set down by the water license. Suddenly, hopes of a bountiful harvest were in jeopardy. Tony's admission carried a weight of responsibility. They used to sluice about a month earlier than this. It was now agreed that the delayed start to sluicing amounted at least to a deviation from the usual timeline. I think he made a grave mistake, putting his passion in jeopardy. The facts of the situation were scary to Tony, who was seeking justice from the powers that seemed far away. If Tony can't agree on a solution with the authorities, his Indian River claims will be shut down for the season, and his only chance of mining 6,000 ounces will rest solely on his paused operation at Paradise Hill. The fate of the Indian River claims held the key to Tony's ambitious goal, and the looming shutdown added a layer of urgency to the unfolding narrative. The question that lingered, was not just about the gold buried beneath the ground. It was about navigating the intricacies of bureaucracy, finding solutions, and turning setbacks into stepping stones. As Tony faced the uncertainty of the season, everyone was left wondering, could the king of the Klondike overcome this regulatory hurdle, reopen the doors to the Indian River, and breathe life back into the dream of a golden harvest? The answer awaited, locked in the negotiation rooms and bureaucratic corridors that would ultimately shape the fate of Tony Beets' mining empire. With that, this chapter comes to a close. Subscribe for further revelations in this ever-changing world. But there is a discovery. The Gold Rush team has made that nobody is talking about yet, and it's the biggest one so far. It has sparked immense interest among gold and mystery treasure enthusiasts alike. Tony Beets has just revealed our brand new Gold Rush Special Edition phone cases, which are on sale for the new year right at this moment. Discover them yourself by clicking on your screen right now, or check the first link in the description.